Hey, hello, thanks for clicking my video. Today I'm going to be looking at ways of storing your Reaper paints. But before we get onto that, if you want to be one of the first people to see the bones for Kickstarter being unboxed, along with all some additional items and the expansions, hit like, hit subscribe. I'll be unboxing it, opening it and showing you all the figures, all the expansions, possibly in separate videos so we can look at more detail at some of the expansions and additional items. But hit like, hit subscribe, hit that bell, and you'll be one of the first people to see it as soon as it arrives and as soon as I open it up for you. Right, well, let's have a look at some of the ways, or the way I think is the best to store your Reaper paints, which is racks. Now today we're going to be looking at ways to store your paints. Now there's loads of ways you can store your paints. You can stick them in boxes, you can stick them in buckets, you could leave them scattered across your worktop, or just pull out the paints that you need for what you're doing. But I would suggest definitely the best way to store your Reaper paints are in racks. Now there's loads of different racks you can get, but there's two types that I would suggest, but one that I'll definitely recommend over the other, which is the Vallejo paint racks. Now they're brilliant for Reaper paints because, as you can see, or maybe you can't see, they're slightly stacked against each other. Now this is great for the triads because you can see the three colours that you want to be working with, and they're slightly stacked, so you've got the three across the front, you can go three on each other, and again three again. They're easy to see the triads, easy to see what paints that you want, easy to see what colours are working with each other for getting your shading, and they're racked, so you're saving on space as well. Possibly one of the downsides is at the back row are slightly larger, but this is fine because not all your paints are going to be Reaper paints. Now these are some Citadel shades, they sit nicely in the back there. Also across the back row you've got space for your brushes, you can stick them in the back there. Also, what I use also the larger holes are for, for sticking your additional bits in, your brushes, or storing some minis that you're waiting to dry. They're brilliant. Okay, so let's have a little bit of a close look at these. Okay, so let's grab this one here and give it a closer look. Right, let's get rid of these paints first. Okay, here it is. Now, the rack itself, it holds about 52 normal size sort of Reaper paints, and across the back it holds 8 larger paints, which are fine for sticking your little bits in, or if you've got larger Citadel paints, or maybe a bottle of primer, you can stick them in the back there. It's roughly about, let's say, 40 centimeters across and about sort of 20 centimeters deep. They're great, they're very rigid, that you don't need any glue, they just slot in across the sides. They've got a little clip across the back here that holds it rigid, holds it still. They sit very flat, they sit very even. Again, they're fairly solid, they're not wobbling, you don't need any glue, and they go together very well. You can pick these up off of Amazon for about 16-17 pounds, depending on what it is. One of the best things about this is they come in sets, so you can get additional side pieces or corner pieces, or even wall racks that you can put behind. I'll show you here. So you can get the corner brackets so you can sit on the edge and make a little round display. The wall racks, so you can put them all up against the wall if you are really short on space. They come with the instructions as well, very easy to put together. If you're used to putting minis together, or any sort of hobby crafts, you'll have no problems with these. Some of the reviews say you need 16 fingers and 5 hands to do this, but it's very easy. They just slot in, push together, no glue, they hold tight, they don't wobble, they don't fall over, they don't fall down. They're brilliant, they work really well, and they're great for the Reaper paints because they're the right sort of size. Pick these up off eBay, definitely recommend them. Now I'll show you the other types that you can get out there that are provided by other suppliers. Now let's stick this here for a second. Whenever you order these, they'll always come in these little packages, flat packed. This is great because they will normally fit through your letterbox, so you don't have to pop them down to the post office to collect them. Now this is another type that I've seen out there that I've ordered. Now I went for these as they're a little bit bigger, and the back row were the completely small size holes. So my thought was I'll get more paints in there, more Reaper paints. I don't need 2 with 8 larger holes at the back. One would be enough, so I thought I'd go for an alternative with the smaller holes all the way across. Let me put this thing together and I'll show you why I would suggest getting the Vallejo even with the large holes against something that one of these sort of laser cut wooden ones that you can also get off of Amazon or eBay. Why I'd recommend these over these. Let me just put this together now. Okay, here we go, magic. Now as you can see, it's bigger, it's a lot bigger. It holds pretty much the same amount of paints, okay? Takes up more space. It's not finished, so you'd have to finish it yourself. Well, that shouldn't be a problem, but it is larger. There are smaller holes across the back row, so you can get more paints in there, but only a couple more. The holders for the paint brushes are also larger, so you will get your brushes falling through. They're not actually supported, so you know it's not so great. But the worst thing about these, apart from what you can't see on camera, which is the smell, they do smell very much like a Chinese warehouse where they've been stored. But the worst thing about these, which almost make them unusable, is how loose they are. Now, as you can see with these there's some give there, but they're pretty solid. These, they're look at that. They're taking your paints in, taking your paints out, moving it around. It's almost unusable. Now, you could glue them together. You could possibly screw them somehow, but I don't want to be doing that. The glue's going to dry, the PVA is going to dry, it's going to crack. I don't want the hassle. If I can just slot them together, like the Vallejo ones, and I'm ready to go, that's brilliant for me. I'd have to prime them, I'd have to paint them, I'd have to glue them. I don't want to be doing that, especially as these are almost exactly the same price as the others. Okay, and as you can see, they're so wobbly, it makes them almost, there we go, they come apart they come apart too easy. I wouldn't recommend these, especially when they're the same price. They're too big, they're too clumsy, they're not primed. Go for these, it's a no-brainer. Definitely, let's get rid of this crap. Now, in summary, if you're looking for a storage solution for your paints and you're sticking them in buckets and having to rummage through to work out where you're getting, pulling your brushes out, these are brilliant. You can see what you've got. They're lightweight, they're quite small, you can store a lot of paints in there, you can put them in the triad so you can see what you've got. When you've got them full up, you can see what you're working with. They look great, you can see your colours, you can see your bits and pieces, you can store your brushes at the back. They're brilliant. Pick one up. You can get off Amazon or eBay quite easily. Also, as I mentioned at the start of the video, the Bones 4 is coming out, maybe 4 or 5, maximum 6 weeks time. So if you want to see that getting unboxed, you want to see the items close up and in detail, hit like, hit subscribe, hit the bell. We'll be looking at the core sets, the expansions, the paints, the scenery that you could also get as well. We'll be looking at that here, so if you want to see that, hit like, hit subscribe. That's only a few weeks away. Between now and then, I'll be doing a couple more videos. We'll be looking at some of the washes you can get from Reaper and comparing them to some of the other washes you can get from Citadel, which may be more easily available for you. I'll be sticking them on the orcs in the background there so you compare the different washes, the different shades, and how they actually come up on your figures. I'll also be doing more of a bit of a retrospective review on some of these Learn to Paint kits. There's loads of videos out there on what's in the box. There's loads of videos on there about painting the individual figures, but I want to be looking at how the skills that you can learn from these sets can be sort of implemented on other figures. Are these skills useful? Are they practical? Do they work? So we're looking at that in a kind of retrospective review on how it can improve your skills. So, if you want to see the Kickstarter being unboxed and a few more videos, hit like, hit subscribe, and hopefully I'll see you next time.